So, first of all, the Kin Global account is growing very nicely. It's not growing linear yet, not even exponentially, not even linear. It's a little bit like around 10 to 20 new users per day following, but it's still more than we used to have. And this is something super interesting. So, since Tipping Cart launch on the 8th of August, we've seen a little bit of growth. Unfortunately, and this was my prediction, that the growth is kind of drying out a little bit, like in the sense like we had 50 new followers the first days of this being announced, and then it was kind of like 40, 30, 20, then 30 again, and then now it's like 10 new Tipping Cart activations. So it's going down a little bit, but to be quite honest, I expected that. I thought that's what's gonna happen. Um, Unfortunately. But you never know, it could have also gone viral. But I was even surprised how still it was growing. And you never know, there might be another day when it's then starts to suddenly grow again and stuff like that. But people are one thing is clear, that code users who like it are recommending it to their friends and family and to, to colleagues, and then it starts to grow a little bit. But it's not enough to talk about, millions of users. um and Penny Post has been launched already, and Penny Post is basically an example of micropayments, um where you can unlock articles. um I think, to be quite honest, if no developer hops on it, like I would, for example, with some projects, then I think it's gonna be a tough sell. Um, and without it, it's probably not gonna go viral. But there's gonna be the VM launch, which is basically reducing the costs of not only transactions for Code Inc. as itself, but it will unlock more features also, which could then come down the road. Now, what I think though is, and this might be one of the most interesting things, is I think that if Code launches chat, because they're gonna launch encrypted chat within Code. I don't know exactly what form it will take, but if it's like a real P2P over Solana encrypted chat, then we're playing into a very interesting narrative, because suddenly you have not only a good wallet, but you also have an encrypted chat. And I think that could make things super, super interesting for a lot of people who are not into a wallet if it's only about payments. So there's still launches planned ahead that could still make Code go viral. Now, um, anything else that I want to add? The Telegram group has been growing nicely. The main Telegram group, the Kin Global account, has been growing. Um, and so, but it's n- it's n- it's not anywhere near virality. It's actually going down, and I bet the actual usage is dropping after initial Tipping Cart launch. And the only way, it's gonna to be interesting to think about, like where it how it would what needs to be done in order for it to go viral. And I think the only way to do this is if you have a project that is kind of like, doesn't have to be like an OnlyFans, but something like an OnlyFans, something like a project which just grows by itself and they decided, to use Code Wallet for transactions and stuff. So it must be like a project that is already growing and they must use code. So let's say you have a website or a project or an app which has 100,000 active users, let's just say, and you're adding 50,000 users per month. That's the kind of app, that's the kind of project that code needs in order to kind of piggyback onto that, latch onto it, and then grow through that. Otherwise, I think it's gonna be really, really, really tough. The only other thing is possibly viral growth through um through giving away money um when you recommend it to someone else. That is in a sense is not a bad idea, but the problem is it's a little bit like shooting with cannons on birds, in the sense like so you're gonna get a bunch of activations which are all over the place, all over the world, but does it create circular economies? Does it, then make more people, recommend it to others without, having to do additional marketing and so forth. So those are the kind of like things which are hard um to predict. And it's certainly worth a try. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. One thing is clear. Those who are fans of Code Wallet tend to, on average, give it to three, four, or five people additionally. So this is a very interesting phenomenon that we see, and I think that that's that is a very important part of a possible viral growth. And yeah, that's pretty much it. While within the kin users, there's a lot of excitement. I'm a bit of a realist in the sense like, okay, it is exciting in terms of like features coming together and working, but we're not seeing any continuous growth yet, which would then, if we extrapolate it, would come to um kin getting into orbit and then literally like becoming viral. So we're far from that yet, very far actually. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the how it needs to be tuned in order to get to that point. Um, so yeah, but I'm trying to do my part, especially on the Kin Global account on X, and we're seeing some growth, but it's still a joke basically. We would have to have like hundreds of new people joining per day, which is just not happening right now. And I mean literally hundreds, like let's say 500 to 1,000 per day, and that still would be small numbers. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Um, it's gonna be interesting what's next for them, like what they're gonna launch next, whether it's the chat or what they're planning, will be very interesting. Um, and the tipping cart novelty might wear out a little bit as people start to give less and less tips. Um, and then people will just stop using code again because they won't be receiving tips. So let's say you have, 100 new users, then maybe 90 will drop off because they won't be receiving tips anymore. So That will be interesting to see. Um, and unfortunately, a lot of growth has been in Nigeria, but Cato, which is the service provider that does the on ramp in code, is not supporting Nigeria. So that's kind of like a shit. Um, and I don't understand why, because there's a lot of on ramps that do support Nigeria. It is what it is. So that's it. That's all I'm gonna say for now, and I'll update you once there's like more really crazy interesting news. The only positive so far I'm seeing is that Kin Global account is now over 1,000 subscribers on X, but it's still very small numbers. Um, but we're seeing a lot of excitement around code. Question is, how long is it gonna hold?